Hi students, welcome back on this channel English Literature with Irdam. As as we started a series of 100 most classical and all times important novels for different exams point of view. So if you haven't gone through the first and second part of this series, please first go through and then uh, continue with this third one. So in this list, the next novel is Elmer Gantry, written by Sinclair Lewis in 1927, and its first line is Elmer Gantry was drunk. So it's another important work. Please go through it. Then we have the tracks by Lewis Aldrich, written in 1988, and its first line is we started dying before the snow, and like the snow, we continue to fall. Then next we have the Fahrenheit 451, written by Ray Bradbury in 1953, and its first line is it was a pleasure to burn. And remember that this Fahrenheit 450 or 451 stands for the burning of the pages and sheets. And Guy Montag is its protagonist. Remember that character also. Then we have Graham Greene's The End of the Affair, written in 1951, and its first line is a story has no beginning or end. Arbitrarily, one chooses that moment of experience from which to look back or from which to look ahead. There are other famous works also written by Graham Greene, uh, The Heart of the Matter. So go through that work also. Then we have At Swim, Two Birds, written by Flann O'Brien in 1939. And its first line is having placed in my mouth sufficient bread for 3 minutes, chewing, I withdrew my powers of sensual perception and retired into privacy of my mind, my eyes and face assuming a vacant and preoccupied expression. Then next work is Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe, written in 1719. And remember that sometimes this work is called as the first complete novel in English literature. And its first line is I was born in the year 1632 in the city of York of a good family, though not of that country. My father, being a foreigner of Bremen, who settled first at Hull, he he got a good estate by merchandise and living off his trade. And then the next line is, and from whom I was called Robinson Crusoe. So remember this work, it's another classical and important work. So you must go through this whole work. Then next in this list, we have Wittgenstein's Mistress, written by David Markson in 1988. And its first line is, in the beginning, sometimes I left message in the street. Then we have another important work by George Eliot. It's called Middlemarch, written in 1872. And its first line is Miss Brooke had that kind of beauty which seems to be thrown into relief by poor dress. I remember that George Eliot is important Victorian writer who is also known for Adam Bede, uh, uh, Silas Mariner, Felix Holt. So go through those works also. Then we have Joseph Heller's Catch 22, written in 1961, and its first line is, it was love at first sight. So remember this work, it's another classical one. Next in this list, we have a famous work, Imaginative Qualities of Actual Things, written by Sorrentino. So its first line is, what if this young woman who writes such bad poems in competition with her husband, whose poems are equally bad, should stretch her remarkably long and well-made legs out before you so that her skirt slips up to the tops of her stocking. So remember this work also. The next we have the Razor's Edge, written by William Somerset Maugham in 1944, and its first line is, "I have never begun a novel with more misgiving." It's another important work, so remember it. Then we have Back When We Were Grown-Ups by Anne Taylor, written in 2001. And its first line is, "Once upon a time, there was a woman who discovered she had turned into the wrong person." Then we have The Napoleon of Notting Hill by G.K. Chesterton, written in 1904. And its first line is, "The human race to which so many of my readers belong has been playing at children's games from the beginning and will probably do it till the end," which is a nuisance for the few people who grow up. Then next we have The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and it was published in 1925. And its first line is, "In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I have been turning over in my mind ever since." Then we have Alice Walker's The Color Purple in 1982. It was written, and its first line is, "You better not never tell nobody but God." And remember that there is a scene where a character called Silly writes a letter to the God. So this is another important work, and also remember that Alice Walker uh, is the first one who used the term woman in this work. Then we have Salman Rushdie's The Satanic Verses. It was banned actually initially, and it was published in 1988. And its first line is, "To be born again, sang uh, Gabriel Farishta, trembling from the heavens. First, you have to die." Then we have another work, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. It was published in 1963 on the death year of Sylvia Plath. And its first line is, "It was a cure, sultry summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, and I didn't know what I was doing in the New York." Next in this list, we have David Foster Wallace, The Broom of the System, written in 1987. And its first line is, "Most really pretty girls have pretty ugly feet, and so does Mindy Metalman. Lenore notices all of a sudden." Then we have Herzog by Saul Bellow, written in 1964. And its first line is, "If I am out of my mind, it's all right with me," thought Moses Herzog. Then next we have another important work of Flannery O'Connor's The Violent Bear It Away, written in 1960. And its first line is, "Francis Marion Tarwater's uncle had been dead for only half a day when the boy got too drunk to finish digging his grave, and a Negro named Buford Munson, who had come to get a jug filled, had to finish it and drag the body from the breakfast table." So remember this work also, it's another important one. Then next in this list, we have uh, Gunter Grass, The Tin Drum, written in 1959. And its first line is, granted, I am an inmate of a mental hospital. My keeper is watching me. He never lets me out of his sight. There is a peephole in the door, and my keeper's eye is the shade of brown that can never see through a blue-eyed type like me. Then we have another work of Stanley Elkins, The Dick Gibson's Show, written in 1971. And its first important line is, when Dick Gibson was a little boy, he was not Dick Gibson. Then in this list, we have The Origin of the Brunists, written by Robert Cover in 1966. And its first line is, Hiram Clegg, together with his wife Emma and four friends of the faith from Randolph Junction, were summoned by the spirit and Mrs. Clara Collins, widow of the beloved Nazarene Ellie Collins. So go through this work also. Then we have Henry James, The Wings of the Dove, written in 1902. And its first line is, she waited Kate Croy for her father to come in, but he kept her unconscionably. And there were moments at which she showed herself in the glass over the mantel, face positively pale with the irritation that had brought her to the point of going away without sight of him. Then next in this list, we have Ernest Hemingway's another work, A Farewell to Arms, written in 1929. And remember that 1929 is also known for the publication of A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. So its first line is, in the late summer of that year, we lived in a house in a village that looked across the river and the plain up to the mountains. So here I end my this video, and I hope you enjoy it. Go through all these works because these works are classic, and you must remember your titles, subtitles, year of publication, characters, and the different events within the story, and also the source of the story. If this video is helpful for your preparation, kindly do subscribe it, like it, share it. See you for the next time.